how is the offensive line going to be this upcoming season? That's the question that we asked last year when we lost some credible guys to retirement or releases, whatever. And the offensive line last year was god-awful.
It was the worst in the league.
It was,
I mean that. It was
probably as bad or even worse when Ben had a bad offensive line in his younger days, back from 2009, 10, whatever.
It was the worst line I ever watched, let me tell you. It was painful to watch that line, man. Good Lord. Now, this year, there are still some remaining faces of that same line. This year, there's Dan Moore at left guard. There's Chucks at there's Dan Moore at left tackle. There's Chucks at right tackle. There's Kevin Dotson and Kendrick Green battling at left guard. That's my assumption. There is a new center. There is a new right guard. Mason Cole, James Daniels are fresh, young faces with a ton of experience.
Yep.
I give the Steelers 2 thumbs up on those 2 additions. Mason Cole may be a little bit of a question mark because is he a borderline starter? Can he do better? Is he better than what we had last year? That is yet to be determined. But I like the fresh faces. That's what we needed, was some fresh faces. We needed some youth, and we needed some fresh guys with experience. That's what the Steelers added with Mason Cole and James Daniels. James Daniels being probably the biggest add the Steelers have added all offseason when it comes to a talent roster aspect.
Yes.
That's what they needed to do, was a pretty good splash for the O-line, and they got one with an interior guard in James Daniels. Bravo to that. We still have Dan Moore, Kevin Dotson, Kendrick Green, and Chucks Okorafor still being tied into this upcoming season when it comes to the offensive line. They're all young guys. That's the benefit here. They're all young. They're all still going to learn. Guys are coming into for Chucks, his 5th year. For Dan Moore's 2nd year, for Dotson, his 3rd year, for Green, his 2nd year. So these guys are going to get better with time. In fact, I want to start all the way to left tackle with Dan Moore. He had a rough start. He was rushed into the spot, which he clearly, I don't think, was ready for. I don't think he was anticipating being the starter.
But then again, we had no choice because Zach Banner's rehab, who was the projected right tackle, because we were going to put Chucks back at left tackle.
Right.
But Banner's rehab was he never recovered.
No, and thus we had to move Chucks back to right and force 4th-round rookie Dan Moore as the starter all 17 games, which the progression showed as the season went on. And now him coming into the season as the projected full-time left tackle starter, I think that will do him very, very well. Knowing he has that preparation mentally, physically, I think he'll be ready to go, and I think we all like his potential.
Yes, for sure.
The left guard is wide open, man. Kevin Dotson had an up-and-down year last year, whether that's due to him being out of position, whether that's due to injury.
Or maybe a bit of both.
Or, yeah, you're right. And I this is projection, but I think he's going to be battling with Kendrick Green, who was absolutely out of position last year. Never should have been center, never should have been given the center job, never should have been center in general.
No. He was literally given that starting center position. He had no competition.
No.
0 competition. And it showed every game that he started last year. He had flashes, but boy, was he inconsistent at center.
Yeah.
He is not a natural center.
No. In fact, his backup, J.C. Hosnauer, was better when he had to step in.
He was better, yeah.
Right. In fact, it's crazy because most of our backups were better than some of the starters last year, if I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. John LeGlue, for God's sake, when Dotson was hurt or Trey Turner was hurt, John LeGlue stepped in at left and right guard and actually showed some flashes, showed a bit of promise as a depth guy.
John LeGlue, J.C. Hosnauer stepped up when they needed to, when their names were called. In fact, let's talk about the depth. You know, the depth is still kind of concerning as well, just because there's not a lot of serious names, or there's not a lot of dependability when it comes to depth. John LeGlue showed flashes. J.C. Hosnauer showed flashes, right?
And whether Kendrick Green and or Kevin Dotson is the starter at left guard, you know, the person that loses the battle is still going to be the rotational backup for guard. So at least for the inside, when you look at it, it doesn't look that great, but at least it's got some guys there.
It's got some depth.
It's got capable guys with some starting experience, guys that can fill in if need be, if their names are called.
As for offensive tackle, I mean, Joe Haig's still the backup left tackle or swing tackle in general. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know who else would be as tackle depth. Chaz Green, maybe.
Who's that guy we brought in? Trent Scott from the Panthers last year or whatever?
So when you look at this line, and let's not forget Chucks. He's coming into what is essentially a prove-it deal. Now, he got a pretty, in terms of numbers, he got a good extension. But if you look at the cap hit he's getting this year, it's essentially another prove-it-year deal.
Yep.
If he doesn't prove himself, the Steelers can just cut ties with him and see minimal loss.
Yep.
And then right tackle would still be a concern. Chucks is coming into another prove-it deal. This is his last chance. But finding a guy with that much experience and still being young is hard to come by. That's why guys like Chucks and Mason Cole and James Daniels. And that's what this line needs. It needs youth, but it needs experience at the same time. And that's what we added this year. That's what we retained this year. It's just, I think I can trust this line enough this year. On paper, it's going to be better. It is better.
I think overall it's going to be better than I think any offensive line can be better than last year's offensive line. For God's sake.
But when we talk about the Steelers line, it's going to be better.
Yes.
The question is how much better. I think all we ask for is for it to be better than last year. If it's better than last year, which I'm 100% sure it's going to be, then I see this offense having some sort of life.
Yeah.
Because the foundation of an offense is the offensive line. If you don't have a line, you can't do anything. You can't get a running game going. You don't give the quarterback time. I mean, it showed last year. And seeing what Najee did behind, in my opinion, the worst line last year,
I don't know how he did what he did.
it's impressive.
I really don't know how he did what he did. Najee's a rare breed.
And a second-year guy with Najee leading the offense, leading the backfield, I'm excited to see what Najee can do in his second year.
I think we all are.
I think we all should be. I think the NFL should be. Because this offensive line is improved. It's going to be improved.
Just how much? Now, it's got guys, like we mentioned, it's got guys that are very youthful but very experienced, guys like especially James Daniels. I love the addition of James Daniels. Not only do I see him as a youngster with a lot of experience, but I see a youngster with a lot of leadership that he holds, to which we didn't have that last year on the offensive line.
Absolutely.
We did not have that. Trey Turner wasn't even the leader, and he was the most experienced guy on the line.
Yeah.
We did not have that. We need that on the offensive line. That's what DeCastro and Pouncey held when they were with the Steelers.
But we lost those two. Now we bring in a guy like James Daniels, who's already taken that leadership role for the offensive line. We're already seeing a plus in the offensive line in leadership from a guy like James Daniels.
And when you have a leader on the offensive line, I believe all guys will get better.
And I think not only is that a home run signing in itself, but the potential this guy still holds at his young of an age. Pro Bowl potential.
Yeah.
It's a home run signing. That itself is going to fix up the line. I just hope the second-year guys can step up when they seriously need to. Guys like Dan Moore and Kendrick Green and Chuck's in his last prove-it-year deal. Those are the guys I'm really going to focus on. And even, of course, Mason Cole. I want to see what he can do at center. Very excited what these guys can do, and training camp coming up back in Latrobe.
Yeah.
And even, with a new offensive line coach and Pat Meyer, he can bring something new, something fresh, something consistent with this offense.
Something that Adrian Clem last year could not be able to do.
Right. So there is a lot of fresh faces. There's a lot of new stuff to this offensive line, which was 100% needed. And that's what the Steelers added.
Yeah. There's a lot of promise to it, too.
There's a lot of promise, and on paper, it is better, and I think it is going to be better. The question is, how improved will the Steelers' offensive line be? I think all we ask for is it to be better than last year.
Yeah.
But
if anything.
But can they blow away expectations?
I would love
that. Can they
that.
be much better than what we think they're going to be?
I would absolutely love that. I would love them to live up to that promise that we're all hoping that they can live up to.
I'd hope so, man. Time will tell, man, because the NFL season is just around the corner. Training camp is coming up in about a week, man. So
I can't wait.
In little time, we'll be able to find out how improved this Steelers offensive line is. Let's know your guys' thoughts down below. How do you feel about this offensive line? How do you feel about the fresh faces we had? How good do you think this offensive line is going to do, man? Let us all know below. That's the vid, man. And see you guys in the next one.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!